Hello there. Welcome to Baytag's Cantina, a community for all Star Wars fans. I'm your host, Baytag, a theater major who loves analyzing character development in stories, especially in the Star Wars universe. I'm here to ramble my way across the galaxy and hopefully introduce you to some new outlooks on the beloved franchise. So whether you're a casual fan or a die-hard enthusiast, be sure to grab your spotchka and Mantel mix, and let's dive in. Oh my gosh. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be doing this podcast trailer for you guys. I really wanted to do a trailer just as a way for people to get to know me better and understand just a little bit about me and how I plan to talk about things when it comes to Star Wars. So let's just hop right into it, yeah? Uh, so my name is Bailey, and I have been a Star Wars fan for a very long time. But in 2020, I fell into a really dark place. I became an alcoholic due to an abusive relationship, and I spent a lot of time playing video games and just crying, to be completely honest with you. It was a tough time, but eventually I decided that I needed to try and find a hobby that would make me feel better. And that's when I started leaning heavily on Star Wars for comfort, which, may or may not be a good thing, but I'm going to count it as a good thing. So I played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and I played Squadrons, and of course, like the rest of the world, I was watching The Mandalorian religiously. And then I started making videos on TikTok to try and find a community of people to share my passion with. And that's when things really started to take off. A couple of my videos went viral, and eventually I started seeing cosplayers on my TikTok feed. And that inspired me because I really wanted to find a way to give back to the community, especially like when the pandemic happened. I was just itching to help people. But I wanted to do something while being dressed as a Star Wars character, because what's better than Star Wars and giving back to the community? I can't think of anything. So I didn't the only problem with trying to find a costuming group is I didn't even know where to start. I didn't even know if Star Wars had a costuming group. I didn't know if people just got together and did these things. So I decided I would just Google it. And that is how I found out about the Mandalorian Mercs. Now, the Mandalorian Mercs is one of the oldest costuming groups recognized by Lucasfilm, and they are known for giving back to their communities. When I found Mando Mercs, I lost my mind. I wish I could explain to you guys the feelings that I was having, because I was so enthralled. The Mandalorian had just come out, and everybody, we all had Mando mania. We were like, oh my god, Mando. And then the pandemic happened. But before that, I wanted to get involved, so I immediately signed up on the Mandalorian Mercs forum, which wasn't and still is not super user friendly, to be honest. It's kind of a pain to navigate, but it is what it is. I was so invested though. I was so invested in figuring out how this club works and how I could get involved, if I could get involved. And being where I live in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma it kind of gets a bad rap. People who live here are like, oh, it sucks. And I'm like, you obviously don't leave your house very much, because Oklahoma is actually really beautiful. We have some really great things to offer people, and the people are great. And especially where I live, everyone is nice for the most part. Uh, but part of living in Oklahoma, you just have this stereotype of oh, there's not going to be anything cool going on, because it's Oklahoma. If it's not cowboys and hay farming, it's not cool. So I wasn't very hopeful when I was looking on the Mandalorian Mercs forum. But they do have a section on the website for clans that are all across the United States. And I thought it was so cool because they actually incorporated like actual Mandalorian beliefs, Mandoa, the language, and even the hierarchy of like Mandalorian clans into the club. And I just thought that was so cool. And I remember I was like nervously searching for Oklahoma's group. I was like, oh my God, is it going to be good? Please, please let it be good. And I found Gatalve, and the members for Gatalve, which is the clan in Oklahoma, they were all listed in the forum. There was tons of members. I was getting so excited. But one really stuck out to me, which was the Alarad, or clan leader, Denise. But her Mando name was Linda. And I remember just like frantically searching for this mysterious Linda on Instagram. I was like searching and searching and searching. I found the OK Mercs Instagram first, and from there is how I found Denise. So I DM'd her, which I will include our screenshots of like me DMing her for the first time, which is kind of funny and like wholesome for us to look back on. But those will be up on my blog, so make sure you go check those out because they're kind of funny. But I digress. I DM'd her, and I remember literally like shaking with excitement on like getting a response. But I was like also nervous because I just literally DM'd her and I was like, "Hello, please let me in your club." It was so cringy. So it wasn't long after that, Denise got me hooked up, and I attended armor parties, viewing parties of the shows that were coming out. And I even got to help Denise as her handler for a couple of events. And I started working on my own Mando. And we actually have like a little girl gang. We call it Tuca Team. And it's just a bunch of women in our clan across Oklahoma. And during the pandemic, pre-pandemic, we celebrated birthdays together. We went to the zoo, we hung out. And when the pandemic was at its worst, we actually would FaceTime each other just to like make sure everyone was okay. It was just like such a sense and place of community when I needed it, and I didn't know I needed it, but I really did. And at that point, I had become and probably will forever be Denise's foundling, and she will probably almost always be my Mandalorian mom. So if you hear us refer to each other as Mando Mom and my foundling, that is why. I could have never fathomed that a passion for a made up galaxy would introduce me to such amazing people. Like, I've met so many fans from different walks of life through the Mandalorian Mercs, Rebel Legion, 501st, and like now here I am nearly 3 years later doing a whole podcast with the same women who welcomed me into the Star Wars community. And it's just like, it's mind blowing. Which does lead me into Sisterhood of the Traveling Bantha. Now, when you hear me say that my podcast is in partnership with Sisterhood of the Traveling Bantha, that just means that I'm partnered with them. I do all my own editing, recording. I pay for all of Baytag's Cantina stuff. I will partner with Sisterhood to record episodes with them. I create social media posts for them and other design work. I will attend events as needed. And I'm also super involved in their book club called Bonnie's Bookshelf and Discord. So I'm really heavily involved with the community aspect of Sisterhood of the Traveling Bantha. And I love that. And I hope one day, Baytag's Cantina, we can foster our own little club. But as for right now, I'm not there yet. um, so, what sets me apart as a Star Wars podcast? That's probably why you're here. Because you're like, why are you in partnership with another Star Wars podcast? That doesn't make any sense. So, Denise and Crystal, who are the hosts of Sisterhood of the Traveling Bantha, they are my most amazing friends. Crystal is like my Mandalorian sister, and Denise, of course, is my Mando mom. But they are so sweet, so kind, so amazing. They are so passionate about Star Wars and the characters and the women in Star Wars. And like, they're not just movie and TV nerds. Like, they want to read the books, they want to read the comic books, they want to know everything that they possibly can. And I love that. And they are so wonderful at educating people on that, which is what you'll find on Sisterhood of the Traveling Bantha. They are also just really great at fostering community and talking with people and answering questions, and they're just great. You should go follow them. Go subscribe to their podcast on all streaming platforms. Or I'm sure if you follow me on social media, you can find them pretty quick from my social media. So as for my podcast will tend to be a bit more analytical of storylines, characters, sets, and design, because I have a strong background in film and television production. I went to college for theater. I have worked on television stuff. I actually interned in a TV and media department, so that was really fun. I got to help produce some plays that were also broadcasted on television, so that was really interesting. And I've always loved film and acting since I was a kid. Like, I love it. I'm very dramatic. I'm a Pisces, so if you know, you know. So that's why my podcast is separate from Sisterhood of the Traveling Bantha, is because, like I said in the beginning, I will ramble. I will ramble about one stupid little thing that stuck out to me in a show, and I just have to talk about it. And I cannot take a whole bunch of time on someone else's podcast to do that. So I've started my own. Just because I am mentally ill and I hyperfixate on things, but I digress. I do want this podcast and this community to be a safe space for people to share their own experiences with Star Wars and how it's impacted their lives. That being said, like, I'm going to tell you right now, I do social media marketing for my 9 to 5. I'm very active on social media. And if I see you commenting something like blatantly negative, blatantly rude, blatantly just mean, I will clap back at you. I am not afraid. So don't get into a street fight with me, because it will get ugly, which could get me into trouble, but I don't really care. I welcome different opinions. I want to talk about different opinions, but there's a way to do it without degrading anyone, or without making anyone feel less than. And I will hop into any conversation real fast and shut that down, because we can be adults. We're all adults, and our community tends to be really negative and really toxic, which is not at all what I want to promote. I want to promote a safe place for everyone to have their own opinions, to talk about, to engage with other people. And I just want people to feel happy when they come to the podcast, when they comment on the podcast. So just keep that in mind. If you're commenting, think twice about it. If it's mean, then don't say it. It's not that hard. Just move along. Anyways, I really have just wanted to give back to the community that has given so much to me. And that's why I'm doing this podcast. So I really hope you will give it a listen and join me on this journey through a galaxy far, far away. And may the Force be with you always.